All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 64 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board. Joining me today is a international cast of characters from the board, and there aren't any Americans here today. So Alain from Japan, where it is late or early. Daniel.
Hello.
Sweden, right? I always get mixed up because I talk to a bunch of guys in Norway, so I don't want to go there. And Mark, of course, from the Great White North, Canada. And myself, of course, I am in America, but I am not an American. But all right, topic today. Actually, before we do the topic, I'm doing a giveaway on the board at the moment, so I just want to mention that to anyone who's still interested. Drawing for this monstrosity, which is 4.5 pounds. 732 pages. It's just a printed galley. Basically, if you go over to the Kiss Monster website and go into the Tour Chronology website, that is that printed out. Oh, and that is also hellishly corrected from the online version. I've been using it as a reference. Corrects a lot of things in what people think they know about the touring history. Lots of reviews and stuff like that. So I'm giving away one copy of that. The drawing will be on Sunday, which is March the 20th, so go on the message board. If you have an account, register, enter, etc., and that can be yours. Open to everyone everywhere, and that will hurt to send to Australia if the winner is from there, or to Europe.
Or to me.
Or to Japan.
Or anywhere. So, I mean, U.S. postal rates suck these days, but there we go. Let's get into today's topic. We're talking farewell. It is, of course, now 15, is it 15 years? Yeah, 15 since the farewell tour, and the farewell tour ended actually. So, what we want to do is just look back on the farewell era a little bit and talk about some of the highs, the lows. There weren't any lows, of course, but some of the things that go around with the topic. And so let's just jump straight in. 2000 January, it gets announced, the band's going out on tour. Initial impressions. Farewell.
I kind of like the introduction. If you remember, VH1 Classics Classic had a show about that. Ted Nugent were hosting, if you remember. I think it was kind of cool, and you felt like something is happening. This is the final, and I must confess, I thought it was the final tour because I couldn't see how they could continue after that. Because Peter had started to decline big time. Ace seemed kind of out of it. If you look at that, when they made the first interview, have you seen that one where Ace is kind of...
Oh, when he was slouched on it was like supposedly slouched. Early morning.
Yeah.
And he was...
He looked like shite.
He was a space cadet.
Yeah. So I just... In my mind, it was like, okay, one more tour, and hopefully they will come to Europe. But again, they didn't.
They couldn't, but they did make it to Japan. Alain.
Yeah, when it was announced, I immediately thought they will come to Japan. It was not a matter of if but when. So I was really, really looking forward to the Japan leg of the tour. I think I had seen the live in New Jersey. There was a video film, the farewell, the last kiss, which was broadcast in Japan on NHK. So I was really, really, really sad that they would announce. I believed it would be their last tour, and I really didn't want to miss it. I remember the feeling.
Yeah, and that was what they kind of really made clear at the time, that this was the farewell. There was none of the revisionism that they did later, like, oh, we're only saying goodbye to certain members of the family. This is the farewell, and it was really sold as such. I remember, it was a great time to be following the band on Kiss Asylum. The website had tons of news, like every day. It was like, what is this tour going to entail? Where is it going? Is it going to be, like the reunion part 2, after seeing Psycho Circus, the tour kind of bomb, in the U.S. at least. Mark, what was your initial impressions on the farewell?
Well, mainly, I wasn't sure what to think. I mean, I kind of had the feeling that they were gonna maybe wrap it up for sure, but I know from a lot of the musician friends that I used to hang around with, there was quite the different opinions amongst them. Like one guy I knew was very convinced. They go, "There's no way in hell that they're gonna quit." He thought for sure this was just a hoax, that they were just going to continue. But what they were going to do was always the thing that kind of everybody kind of debated about. Some of my friends thought that they were going to go back to without makeup and just continue as they were before the reunion happened. Some people thought that they were just going to, take a little bit of time off and then they would just come back with the same people again. There was all kinds of different opinions about it. But for most the people that I've hung out with that believed that it was over, they took it really hard. Like they were like, wow. Like so I just saw one guy who was almost in tears. He was like, "Man, this is my favorite band," and blah blah blah. But I don't know. I initially thought that it was going to be done. I mean, up to that point, Kiss wasn't really known to be that band like the Who would say this is it and then come back a couple of months later and then start again. And then by the time they actually do retire, I mean, the Who are still playing now. How many times have they claimed that they're retiring? Like 4 times already, or 5? So, I mean, but Kiss didn't have that reputation at that point for doing that. So I had every reason to believe that they were going to wrap it up. Was I surprised that they came back? Yeah, sort of. Was I happy that they came back? Yeah, of course, because, I was still digging the band and loving it. So my impression was I thought that they were going to wrap it up, to be honest.
Yeah, I had seen them in '99 in when I went back to my native Belgium for the Psycho Circus tour, and it was probably one of the worst concerts I ever attended for Kiss. I mean, Peter Criss was just in his worst shape ever. Paul Stanley had a what do you call it? His knee was wrapped in. They were falling apart, and I thought, well, okay, it is the farewell because they have to. So I kind of welcomed, said, yes, well, it's about time, and thank you for all those years, but maybe you should wrap up in the end.
I totally agree with you. I couldn't see any way for them to continue. It was like the end. What are they going to do? Peter Criss is finished. Ace Frehley seems to be out of it, and I don't know what about you guys, but I couldn't see anyone else wearing their makeup. I didn't even think about it.
That's true.
Now it's kind of,
Yeah.
But back then I couldn't see it happening.
But yeah, because that's the thing that was sort of interesting. Again, talking about how we first talked about how Kiss didn't have the reputation for being the band to kind of say we quit and then come back. Kiss never had that reputation of, being that band where you would think that, okay, if somebody left, we would replace them and put makeup on. That was never thought of. People thought that was, sacred ground. You can't put that makeup on anybody else's, face except the original people. So when I remember my initial shock when I first heard that Eric Singer was put into the makeup, I was like, wow. I mean, but like history has shown us, Eric always seems to get a bit of a pass because he has been in Kiss. So it wasn't really like putting it on a complete stranger. You know what I mean? It was somebody that was kind of already accepted into the Kiss family. That's why Tommy always gets more of the hard time. Even though if people probably knew beforehand how much involvement he was with Kiss, maybe they wouldn't have given him as much of a hard time. But nobody knew how much he was doing in the background. So of course, to them it was just like they just found some guy and put the makeup on him and said, "You're Ace Frehley now," So it's interesting how that whole thing occurred, because Kiss kind of went from a band that was very respected for being, following their thing and just sticking with it and keeping everything sacred, to being a band where now it seems nothing is sacred. We can put makeup on whoever we want. We can do whatever we want. That whole aura of the band has kind of disappeared with time. Do you guys agree? Or?
Yeah, but what was your first impression, or how did you react to that first picture of Eric Singer wearing Peter Criss makeup? And
it looked weird. It looked really odd.
But I have to remind, I think that there was a lot of backlash when it happened.
There was a lot of backlash, as simple as that. I mean, and my
Yeah.
impression was, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go. It was just one of those things that, for me, it was like, what the hell? I mean, it was just flogging a dead horse comes to mind.
I thought it was so strange because you remember that first picture that they posted online and everywhere. I was like, that doesn't look good at all. But then after some time, he kind of, I don't know if he changed the makeup because I thought he looked better. But it can also be that you got used to it, But
Well, I was
picture.
I was happy
Yeah.
to see him because for me it was either that or no shows, canceled shows.
I agree.
So,
I totally agree.
so
Yeah.
but there was a lot of reactions and a lot of I had bought 6 tickets for people overseas. Hey, I want to come to Tokyo. Can you book a ticket? And when it was announced that Peter Criss had left, whatever that means, and that he will be replaced by Eric Singer, everyone just jumped ship. Said, "Well, I'm not coming. Do whatever with the ticket."
Oh,
So I was left
really?
Really?
with 6 tickets for
Who cares about a
for
drummer
shows.
anyway?
But you know what though?
But there were a lot of backlash. Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, though, if you watch that show, which I'm sure all of us have seen,
Which show?
the Tokyo
Yeah.
show, right? Eric Singer played so good on that show. Like I thought that for sure totally. I forgave him when I saw that show. I was like, okay, you know what? If you're gonna put him
the
in,
band.
yeah, well, exactly. But that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, to me, there was no more debate about it. He's the right guy to do it because he drums so good, and I mean, he played those songs so much better than Peter was doing. It's unbelievable. So I think it was the right choice, to be honest.
But it also had a knock-on effect that it reinvigorated Ace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ace was
kinda
those Japanese shows are
Oh, they sounded
totally
great.
on fire. And I was going to bring it up later on, favorite bootlegs, but the farewell performance from Tokyo, one of the main bootlegs audios from those is one of my all-time favorite Kiss shows.
I have a question about the Tokyo show. Was it only Kiss, or was there several bands? Because wasn't it like a huge crowd in Tokyo?
Okay. Yes, it was. The Tokyo Dome was for Kiss only. There was so the Japan tour first was supposed to be in November 2000.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was an announcement. There were ads made, and then it was canceled very quickly. And for that show, they had a Japanese band on the bill as an opening act, which is very rare in Japan. Usually, the main artist is the only act. So when they came back for March 2001. It was only Kiss, and so I can guarantee you the 45,000 people in Tokyo Dome were there just for Kiss. It was an incredible atmosphere because everyone thought it was the last show. I think that was really well advertised. No matter who the drummer was, people wanted to see Kiss the last time, and it was very successful. And that show was unbelievable. They were so good. It was so great. Yeah.
Like I said, they didn't have any reason to believe otherwise. Everybody thought for sure it was the last show.
But how many of you were aware of the 5-year contracts, that have been signed in '96 by, those leaked out. I can't remember when they leaked out, but now we know in hindsight that the reunion was only supposed to go from '96 to 2000 essentially.
Yeah.
And these ones do fall outside of the continent, especially the Japanese and Australian leg, fell outside of the, I believe, the contract period, which is why Peter...
I think they wanted to do it November, December and finish in 2000.
That's why he renegotiated, right?
Yeah.
I was always mesmerized by the way they handled business, Paul. I always thought they made kind of strange decisions. I remember just the reunion tour. I thought, well, good luck with this one. Having seen Peter when he toured a few years back with his band Chris, it wasn't good, and this will fail miserably. I thought it was a huge success, biggest tour of the year, And then they decided, well, let's slap the makeup on Eric Singer. I said, oh my God, this will never work. Worked fine. And then we, of course, come to Tommy Thayer. And then I thought, this is sacrilege. I mean, how can you put guy on that? How can you put makeup on the guy who's like the, handler? But then that worked too. So very good. They are really good at business.
But what I mean, it is also kind of backhanded. I mean, it also depends on what you believe too, because I mean, I'm sure you guys have read all the biographies too, and there was that chapter in Peter's book where he said that when they were negotiating the tour for Aerosmith Kiss, they were telling him that, Aerosmith fell through, so they told him that he couldn't get as much money for it. He signed the contract, apparently, saying, okay, I'll take less money. And then they told him after, okay, Aerosmith's back,
But then you talk to Lydia Chris, and she says Peter is just a fucking liar. He lies all the time through the whole book. So I don't know how much truth
what to believe,
it is.
Right?
No,
I think more than likely somewhere in the middle of those two stories you get kind of the truth. But I mean, obviously Peter does have a little bit of a reputation,
Rightfully so, I think. He seems kind of
He likes to play the victim a lot too.
So I guess it's a tough one to ask. I mean, Daniel, you wouldn't have had the choice, the chance to see them in concert for this, would you?
God damn, I would have seen them if they were here, but they were nowhere near Europe.
No.
Nope. So
Mark,
I didn't see them.
what about you? Did you get to see them?
I had a chance to go see them, but I didn't end up going to go see them. I think I ended up going away somewhere. I think I went to Cuba or something for holiday or something, but I didn't see it. I mean, I regretted it, but I mean, from people that I know that went to see it, they gave me very mixed reviews about it. They were saying, as usual, Gene and Paul were pretty good, but they were saying that Peter was terrible. Like the one guy that I went to at the reunion show, he was the one jumping up and down saying that he couldn't believe how good Peter played. He was definitely the big surprise on the reunion show because he thought that he played, because he hated Peter Criss. Even through the 70s, he thought Peter was terrible, right? Yeah, because you got to understand, my friend, he's into like Mike Portnoy, Neil Peart, and all this. And he thought Peter Criss was so basic a drummer, right? Yeah. But then when he saw them at the reunion show, he goes, wow, this guy is really good, really solid. He goes, he was impressed. And then when he went and saw the farewell show, he goes, wow, this guy's run out of gas. He's not hitting. He was like, it's like he was hitting with feathers, the drums half the time. It was just unbelievable, like the difference. But I mean, you got to remember, this guy's also getting older. And I mean, that first reunion tour was really, really long. I mean, these guys were playing almost on a nightly basis. So for them to start falling apart, I mean, could you imagine if they didn't do those months of training beforehand, they wouldn't have lasted probably half that tour if they didn't prepare for it like that.
How much do you think Peter Criss trained? I don't think Peter Criss How do you think he said, Peter, you have to work out? Oh, fuck you. Well, I guess he would say, I don't think it worked out a lot. He should have worked out a lot more.
He looked a little bit more trimmer than before. Not hugely. He didn't look like he was like Arnold Schwarzenegger or nothing, but but I'm sure he did. He had to do a little bit of training. I mean, they all looked a little bit more trimmer before they started, but as the tours went on, some of the water weight came back a bit, right? So
yeah.
Everybody looks so down and depressed talking about this.
I mean, I have images of like that Ace at the press conference, just kind of slouched in the chair, and you're thinking of Peter, like, I'm going to work out today. I'm going to take the cat for a walk, And,
yeah, I don't think it did the work.
So it's kind of depressing, but I mean, here we go into the set list, making Ace and Peter perform 80s stuff. Heaven's on Fire comes back into the set. Lick It Up comes back. Am I missing anything? No, that's
yes. One more. I Love It Loud.
Pick It Up.
Yeah, thank you. So
Pick It Up as well, no?
Making Peter Criss perform I Love It Loud, Heaven's on Fire. Playing Eric Carr's stuff.
Listening to Peter Criss making that thunderous drum in I Love It Loud was like heaven. No, it wasn't. It wasn't really.
I think Julian's vomiting from that comment.
No. I'm sick, but I can handle that. And I mean, the last Kiss, Oh shit!
That's the name. That's right.
Yeah, the concert.
And the one you would have seen, that's what the hell's it called? I've got it right here. That's the Music from New York. Was the one on NHK, which is slightly different version of The Last Kiss, just different edit or something. I don't know. It was kind of depressing, but I mean, I went to two, something like that shows, and one of them, Marysville, was my first and only time front row at a Kiss concert. So I'm kind of skewed on my opinion of that show was maybe one of my top 3 Kiss shows, just because shock and awe, being front row, feeling the blast of the flame, seeing the grease paint dripping down their faces. I mean, seeing every bead of sweat on their faces. I mean, seeing Ace. If I recall correctly, I was more on Ace's side of the stage, and we were pretty central. And just looking up at the stage, and there's Ace with his guitar. I mean, it was like one of those like Kiss fanboy moments for me, And you're looking up, and it really makes them look larger than life. And I'm sorry, they could have been, out of tune, hitting every bum note, out of key. It wouldn't have mattered from that perspective, The only thing that I remember negative about those shows was Ted Nugent, which is not my frickin' scene whatsoever, as much as I like.
I mean, from my perspective, from a European perspective, that guy is fucking nuts.
Oh, he's just a fucking idiot to me, but
idiot, redneck, motherfucker, all you Ted Nugent fans.
But he's got he's got a few decent tunes in the mid '70s.
Yeah, Stranglehold. That riff
Free
is like
for all,
Tango.
A lot of that stuff is no different from what Kiss were doing at the same time, or what Aerosmith were doing at the same time, or Cheap Trick. It's all in the same sort of, area code.
That's a nutcase.
Yeah, but he's a nutcase. And again, best memory from that show is being backstage after it and having Ace come around and shout at people, hey, in that little acky cackle of his, just hilarious to kind of hear and experience. Yeah. And also seeing Gene eat cake without a spoon, but, what the hell? So, but really, really cool show. It was nice. I enjoyed seeing or hearing the 80s material in the set. I thought they did it adequately. And I've seen some cover bands do some pretty atrocious versions of those songs. So I thought, Peter and Ace at least, did them as respectfully as they wanted to. They didn't deliberately butcher them or anything.
They picked the 3 simplest songs that Kiss ever recorded, almost.
Yeah. There's hardly any technical challenge to most of the catalog.
So that's why they worked. If they had picked like King of the Mountain or I've Had Enough to the Fire, it would sound like shit. So
Peter would have passed out after that drum beginning.
Imagine seeing Peter do the double bass drum on I've Had Enough. Oh.
No, that's not his style.
No,
Can't do it.
Not. Peter Criss was great. San Francisco 74, but after Japan, actually 77 Japan. 77. After that, I think he did a little bit too much drugs. It was never the same to me.
Too much cocaine.
Yeah, but there's more to kind of like the decline of the band sonically than just the personalities. I think a lot of it comes down to the choreography and how it became big business once Glickman Marx came into the picture, that every aspect of the show, it was going to be a 75-minute show, was here's second by second, here's flashpot by flashpot. It took everything organic out of the performance, and that's
why I love the medleys from the latest leg, the final leg of the farewell tour.
Exactly.
When Ace went into Rocket Ride. It was like the best thing on the whole tour, almost, because it was spontaneous. How do you say it?
Spontaneity.
Yeah, exactly. And it was it's my second language. God damn it! So I liked that a lot, and the way he pissed off Gene, that's priceless. That's priceless. What does Ace Frehley want to play next? Ace Frehley band want to play next? I love that.
But I mean,
and that's what you miss in Kiss. When you don't have Ace in the band, he's like the loose gun. You know, you don't know, is it going to be a good show, a bad show? Is he going crazy? Is he going to do something that's out of, you're not expecting? And now it's just safe all the time.
Yeah, but that explains a lot about their character. Sorry, Alan. It's just that I think somebody mentioned this once before. Is that Paul and Gene are very much that kind of character that like things in detailed, everything worked out. Whereas Peter and Ace, they never seem to have anything worked out in their life. It seems everything seems to be day by day and following the flow as it goes, kind of thing. So that's why I think that they're the most happiest probably now, Paul and Gene, because everything is so structured. They have two people with them that also believe in structure, especially Tommy Thayer. His whole life revolved around structure, taking care of Kiss beforehand. And, that's what they have now, and that's why they look so comfortable touring. I mean, could you imagine how much gray hair Paul Stanley would have now if those two were still in the band,
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't have any gray hair. He'd be in jail. He would have killed them.
It's one thing that is missing is the spontaneity and the surprise, because I remember it's probably one of my favorite memories of the farewell tour, because I was in Nagoya. It was my last farewell show, Nagoya, and
how big a hall is Nagoya? I remember they played that back in '95. I guess it was the same.
10,000.
Yeah, the Rainbow
It's not
Hall.
very big.
No, it would be 6,000-7,000, I think.
Yeah.
But then, so we're all expecting Rock and Roll All Night to start, and they start this one song that was not played in Tokyo, and everyone goes nuts. And that was a great surprise. Oh, that's a nice gift. And then they start playing another one, and another one, and another one. So we didn't know what songs, because it was the first night. We didn't know if they would play more. We didn't know which songs they were going to play, and that excitement is really that you can't really replicate. It's the surprise effect and the excitement of what's coming next, and one more, and that was, I just remember being lifted up in the air for the whole time. I was really, really close to the stage, and everyone just was in heaven for those 10, 12 minutes before the end. That was a great moment. An unannounced medley of 4 songs eventually.
Well, I mean, I think Daniel just explained it, though. I mean, I think if they didn't have Eric in the band at that point, that probably couldn't have happened, because, I mean, he had such a vast knowledge of their catalog that Ace could have started anything and he would have known what to do, what to play on it, because he loved Kiss so much that he knew. It's
kind of interesting. If you look at the convention tour, when they start whatever song, Bruce, he just sits there. I don't have a clue what the fuck I'm going to play. Eric is right on it. And it's not just the standard beat. He knows what to play.
I mean, he's
really always been into Kiss. Bruce was, I don't think he was ever into Kiss, and that showed during the convention.
But Eric is also into Kiss, and he's such a technically proficient drummer.
Yeah.
You don't get to drum for Gary Moore, or you didn't get to drum for Gary Moore unless you knew how to drum, and you could do it at the drop of the hat without thinking about, we're going to play this song now. How's that go? No, you're in and you're playing.
And the list goes on, Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper.
And most importantly, I know Julian will agree that you got to be a top-notch person to drum with Lita Ford, right, Julian?
Wasn't Lita Ford on the last Kiss cruise, wasn't she? on that one?
Yeah, I heard that didn't go over too well, apparently. She had the least amount of people watching, apparently.
Sorry, I am
she's
not a
simply
Lita
not very
Ford
good.
fan.
That's it.
Never was. Joan Jett all the way.
Yeah.
She was the star of that band.
Yeah. So, I mean, getting back to Japan, though, Japan doesn't also, they get the medley. I'm looking at Nagoya. I mean, got to choose Parasite She, Making Love, and they were pretty good chunks of those songs performed. But you guys also got Talk to Me. I mean,
yes, that was the first surprise on the first night. That to me
was the better surprise.
Yes,
the medleys were cool.
Remember.
They were fun.
I remember. It was in Yokohama, and I think Ace gonna sing a song for you now, and he goes, okay, this is the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and no one expected "Talk to Me," and it was one of my favorite songs as a kid when and Mask came out. So that was a big treat too. Yes, definitely. "Talk to Me"
So
was
you look
was
at these set lists from Japan and Australia, and you've got stuff from the 80s. You've got basically built on the Psycho Circus kind of set with, you've still got Into the Void, Psycho Circus in there. They got rid of Within, thank goodness.
I just have to tell you a quick story about Within. I was with my girlfriend attending I think it was Sonic Boom, and then they played "I'm an Animal," and she said, "Well, what the fuck is this song? What is this?" And I said, "Hey, I'm an Animal from the latest album. It should be called I'm a Snail," she said. It was just so slow and awful.
Yeah, and that was Within as well.
That's
Dreadful, dreadful
why
song.
I sort of it was kind of similar Within and I'm an Animal, kind of.
I never understood why they picked Within, but by the time we get to Farewell, I'm glad they'd said farewell to Within. That's for sure.
I think Paul Stanley had a few songs that would have gone over quite well live on Psycho Circus, but they didn't really give them a shot. I remember, wasn't it in Australia they played "Raise Your Glasses" or something?
No, they did. I Pledge Allegiance.
Yeah, "Pledge the Allegiance to the State of Rock,"
which is one of the most awful songs in terms of its title, but it's also a pretty cool anthem live. I would have rather heard "Raise My Glass" or "Raise Your Glasses," whatever it was.
Raise your glasses. Raise your heart.
Raise your heart.
I thought they would raise their 3D glasses. Wasn't that the kind of during the second? Raise your 3D glasses.
So that would have just been too predictable. But the farewell tour is a success. 63 million for the North American leg versus what was the reunion just a few years earlier was 45. So obviously tickets were more expensive. Lots of online stuff as well because they streamed Did you watch any of the streams? You guys who weren't in the U.S. of I think the first show, Phoenix Blockbuster Pavilion, they streamed part of it, and there was it didn't have any of the hype or the excitement of even the Psycho Circus tour, but did it feel done? I mean, I remember this, and we'll get out the ad, the infamous Alive 4 as originally conceived, which
nice pick,
which we'd heard about that they'd recorded New Year's Eve. And it was going to feature
Vancouver.
Detroit Rock City. Hard Luck Woman now, yeah. Deuce, I Was Made for Loving You, Calling Dr. Love, and much, much more. And that was supposed to come out in conjunction with the tour. And all we ever got were the album flats. So that for the farewell tour is what disappointed me more, is that the reunion lineup didn't put out a full live album, and they apparently never got around to doing anything with it at the time. So we were waiting for it. First it's supposed to come out in March, then April, and then forget about it, and you get the pay-per-view instead. So that really is the live document of the farewell era until Kissology comes out. I mean, what would you guys like to have seen release-wise for the farewell?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Japan, Australia.
Well, I honestly think what I don't understand though is that they filmed so many shows of the reunion, the 96, 97 tour there, that I mean they had to have recorded audio obviously as well, right? I mean, and why wouldn't they have released something from that period when they were on fire, when they were playing well together? Why couldn't they have just put together a show from that and released it later on? I mean, it would have been a much better thing to have than anything from the farewell tour. They were much better shape, much better playing. They could have, they could have got a decent guy to come in and mix it for them, and they would have had lots of time because that's old material, like in considering 96, 97, and then 2000 are doing the farewell tour. They had lots of time to mix it, to get a decent package together and to bring it out on tour. I would have loved to have something from that. That's what I would have liked to have gotten.
Yeah. It's incredible that they didn't release a live video from the reunion tour. It was the biggest tour that year. They didn't do anything. The farewell tour, the only thing I could have, I would have liked to seen was something from the Australian and Japan tour, because I think that was the best part of the tour. And I guess they wanted to play more after that, but I guess there wasn't a demand for Kiss after that, because I remember some of the interviews they did back in they did in Australia. They always go to that what's it called, footy show. And I remember Paul saying something about, well, this is our farewell to Australia, but we might play some more. But I guess they couldn't, get a good deal.
Well, there was a semi-official video of the show in Tokyo, which was broadcast here as part of a internet stream pay-per-view. Which is fantastic, and it's on YouTube, of course, now. We had what Julian said, the show recorded in New Jersey that was broadcast on TV here.
I saw that.
So they could have easily used the Tokyo footage, because it's really well produced. They were on fire. The set list is fantastic.
Great crowd.
Could have been a really an official release if they had wanted to.
Yeah, and that one from the web stream is the one I was alluding to at the beginning of the show. The farewell performance 2001. I mean, even though it's captured off the web stream, it was a stunning performance. Simple as that. They hit it out of the park in Japan.
I have to say, my theory is that they had 2 shows in Yokohama to rehearse, to practice, because honestly, the production and it was not as tight, not as slick in the first 2 shows, but they were really rehearsing. When they are filmed, they know they are filmed, and they give it an extra 10, 15, 20%. And the audience was just amazing, being in that stadium, and they got so much in return. It was really, really really fantastic performance, and captured really well. So that's a great document.
So what's better, the Australian leg or the Japanese leg? Because by Australia, they're really getting into these medleys a bit more.
Both are great. Why do you have to pick?
Well, by the time of Australia, it's not a surprise anymore. People, I guess, know they were playing a medley, and it's a bit more rehearsed.
That's just because you were in Japan.
Yes, that's right. And your point is?
Well, I think another important point, though, is that Japan and Australia, in retrospect, doesn't get as many tours from Kiss as North America does, and even South America probably. I mean, they don't, because of the fact that they don't go there so often. You're getting what Alain was talking about with the whole return of energy from the crowd back to them, and that really fuels a band like Kiss, right? When you have a big energized crowd like that, they really help push Kiss to another level, I find. And because they don't go to Japan as often and to Australia, those tours are always so fondly talked about and remembered so well because of that fact. I think that they give so much energy into those shows because they're excited to go back there. The people are excited to have them come back again. It's like when they announce a tour that they're going to go through the U.S. again, people are like, okay, yeah, great, they're coming, but it's not like they hadn't seen them like 2 years ago or 1 year ago or who knows. I mean, when you see somebody too often, the thrill is gone, as they say, right? I mean, that's one of the oldest theories that you learn in a band, is that never oversaturate your market. You don't want to play the same city, 7 times in 1 month, because you're going to lose your audience. You know what I mean? Like, you have to spread yourself out and, bring your product to other places. And because they don't go to those 2 places, the demand is huge. People are excited as hell to see them. And I'm not surprised that Japan and Australia have such fantastic shows and such great bootlegs and stuff like that, because people are so jumping out of their seats to see them,
Yeah, it's an event. We don't take it for granted, if that's what you perhaps want to say. That's very true.
But now when we have people from 3 continents. Why didn't they visit Europe? I mean, that's a large market to go to.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I mean, I know that there was a time during the reunion tour, I remember reading a little article about them having troubles in certain parts of Europe because there was some sort of a labor strike with some of the truckers or something that they had troubles with in Spain that they couldn't go there at one point.
That was the reunion. That was in the reunion, first leg of
Yeah.
the reunion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's just a couple of shows.
They need
Yeah,
a
2 shows that were
siesta.
canceled, yeah.
I can't remember. Was the dollar
felt for
strong
Europe,
or was
yeah.
it weak?
I don't know. I don't know
Was
why
it
they did
economics? Did they not get the offers? It seemed to, with KISS, with a lot of things, it seems to take them many years to catch on to things. When the European Summer Festival market really started heating up, they weren't there initially, yet they'd been part of it on the side in '97. They'd touched on it, so they should have known about the festivals. Maybe they didn't want to do festivals. They didn't want to be a part of that scene. Maybe the guarantees weren't there for what they, thought they deserved.
Maybe Ace didn't want to play after Australia. Simple as that. So.
But what you said there, Julian, they didn't play for what they deserved, what they thought they deserved. That's been a huge problem for KISS, in my opinion, because I was a fan of the non-makeup era, especially the Revenge era. And if they just would have played, they could have done like all the other bands, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. I watched Judas Priest in Stockholm. We were like 1,500 people, one of the best shows I've seen. But they couldn't they wouldn't play for that amount of people. They always looked for a way to make money and play for big audiences. Because KISS with Bruce and Eric maybe releasing a great album instead of that Psycho Circus in the late 90s would have been great to me. But it was always about, attracting crowds. So they always, and I was mesmerized that they managed to, rejuvenate the whole KISS thing just by bringing back a worse drummer and a guitarist.
But you know what though, you touched upon something though that's interesting, is that this thing for KISS is all about image and how they look to the public. I mean, I remember reading in a book, that C.K. Lentz book there, when they were doing the Lick It Up tour, and one of the guys was asking Gene, how are you going to explain that you guys are playing now at smaller halls, because they weren't getting that many attendance. He told somebody, he goes, we'll just tell them that they weren't available, the bigger halls. Or we can always attest it to something. Oh, gas cost too much, so people wouldn't come out as many. People wouldn't attend. They always had reasons to make it sound like there's other reasons besides their attendance. Their popularity. Like they never wanted to have that appearance that we had to play smaller halls. We are the band that always plays the biggest ones and the biggest attendant things. That was what they were always stuck with, right?
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about the band. They became like through 84, 85, they were like rock and rollers. After that, they were like businessmen, lawyers. And just by listening to Paul Stanley doing interviews after like 88 makes you want to puke because, we got the... It's like... a fucking teacher or a preacher. It's I want a rock and roller. I'm here because I like to play rock and roll music. I like to bring it to the audience. I want to make a good show. But it was about the money in the later years.
But for the Europeans, I mean, were left out in the cold for many years after 1999.
Oh yeah.
So it's also understandable maybe that they didn't go back out there in 2000, 2001 because they'd just been there in 1999. And the attendances then were hardly spectacular. They were good, especially in Scandinavia, traditionally very strong, and Germany. But after those 2 markets, where else in Europe are KISS actually popular? They're certainly never going to pull off a tour outside of those small 3,000-person venues in Britain. Simple as that.
Just go to Scandinavia and go back.
France, they might as well skip because they're more likely to have to cancel shows. Like they have, I think it was Lyon. There just aren't the markets in France, even worse than England for them. Italy, hit and miss. going back to 1980, but the 76 tour was hardly economically successful. The 80 tour was hardly successful.
Yeah. Or like even the Iron Curtain places weren't that good probably either, like Poland or something like that, right?
Yeah, they had to cancel shows in 96, 97 in Eastern Europe. Simple as that. So when you get down to the pure economics of how much it costs to put on a show, and it's easy to, it's simple fact that putting on shows in Europe are more expensive than putting on shows in the U.S. Labor costs are higher, number one.
But it could be pretty expensive, and they would still make a profit. I don't know about other countries, but they would easily have played for 20,000, 30,000 in Sweden. And I don't know how many people do you have to play for
but
it.
That's the exception. That's the exception to the rule, though.
Yeah,
right?
we're the best.
Sweden can't carry all of Europe for Kiss. Sorry.
Yeah,
or Germany for that matter.
Yeah. Sweden's always been a pretty strong market for a lot of bands. I mean, even I know Iron Maiden's spoken highly of Sweden.
Yeah.
Same with Kiss. Like most bands that I've even like whenever I would go and like I was really deep into like the whole kind of metal scene when I was younger, like Nightwish and all these other bands, and they would always talk very highly about Scandinavia is always a place that you never miss when you go touring because it's well attended, and because they got people like Daniel who go and attend shows, right? So, but that's just it. I mean, another thing that I find interesting about Europe is in that CK Lent book, they were talking about back when they did that Unmasked tour, and they had to cancel because they needed to find a new drummer, and then they had to rebook the tour again. And something that CK Lent wrote in that book that was interesting is he said that Europeans are very finicky.
Germans.
Okay, well,
not Europeans, Germans.
But they said it's very finicky that once you cancel something on them and rebook it, that they're very skeptical about doing it on a second turn like that. That they always seem very cautious about it. So it's almost like
Germans did it twice.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, but I mean, Germany's also been one of their stronger markets, though, overall, right?
Yeah, Germany's a massive market for them. Look at recent years, how well they've done across Germany and the number of shows that they've done. Compared to they'll go to Stockholm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically for Sweden.
They played a few three places. They have Gothenburg, Stockholm, and a place in the south called Malmö.
Oh, Malmö, yeah, and Lund.
Yeah,
occasionally. So whereas
that was a long time ago.
Germany has 15 or 20 cities.
Yeah.
And a lot of the major festivals. So pure economics is my point. And there's no excuses. Obviously, Kiss isn't here to defend themselves. Why didn't you go to Europe? And someone out there probably knows.
I think they would have made a profit.
Yeah.
My theory is that Ace didn't want to go. That's all. I think that's the.
Yeah, they had some problem with. Wasn't it Peter's fault that they had to cancel a few shows? There was some contractual problems. Or am I misinformed?
Which tour?
If I look at the farewell tour, Peter Criss wanted to negotiate his.
No, he didn't. I think force the cancellation of any shows other than the Japan tour that was planned for November. But he started painting. He started doing the teardrop under his eye.
Oh yeah.
Making his his political statement of how the world was against him.
Again.
Again.
You're playing in one of the coolest bands ever, and you're starting to.
And then destroying his drum kit at the end of the show. It was at Charleston.
I kind of like that one because it was
spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous. But maybe it wasn't. But it felt like it at least. I liked it.
Yeah, that would be one I would love to see in 3D. High definition.
Instead of this kind of,
Peter. Well, if you remember how bad his arms were at that point, with him, he actually managed to put a lot of muscle effort into destroying that kit. I mean, you would have thought with the triggers and everything that he needed to use for performances that he would have been like slapping the drum kit in slow motion, but he did a good job.
We don't get any PD Chris fans watching this episode, we're going to get slaughtered.
No, I think anyone who's a Peter Criss fan can be
they
objective
know.
about him. You know, it's
Yeah.
not insulting him. He gave
It's
everything
a
he
person. It's not the way they play.
had. Yeah, simple as
People. You know, Peter Chris is the greatest drummer of all time. No, maybe he was cool for a few years, but then he wasn't.
he was good. He had the groove, but you know, by the time you get to the end of the farewell tour, he doesn't. So, what do you think would have made the farewell tour better, other than you're not allowed to answer while coming to my country? Is there anything that would have made it, you know,
Different set lists. God damn it!
like
Don't
what?
play the same old
Like what?
song.
Because they brought in 3 songs out of the non-makeup. That is a different set list. So
yeah, but
what,
it was
what would you have liked?
pretty safe choice. But you have to know I'm a hardcore fan, so I would have liked to see, you know, kind of
Read my body?
I've had enough. I would like I wouldn't have liked to see that one with Peter. But you know, switch up the set list, bring something new to the show. You know, it felt like they were doing the reunion tour again and again, except from the 3D thing they did on the Psycho Circus tour, which kind of failed. It didn't work properly. But I liked it back in the 90s when you had like Hot in the Shade 1990. Ooh, a new show that you haven't seen before. And then 2 years later, they built a new one with the Statue of Liberty. And there was some sort of, you know, they tried to come up with new things. But then when the reunion happened, I think nothing happened show-wise for, I guess, until they haven't changed it that much until the Spider. Or?
The Spider.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they could have approached this a little bit better. I thought overall for the reunion tour. I mean, for the farewell tour. I mean, think about this. I mean, they were already falling apart. Okay, like they were sore. You know, Paul's knees bandaged up. Peter can hardly drum. So why wouldn't they approach it more to kind of capitalize on something like, for example, make a run of like 4 weeks, then take a week or two break, and then do another 4 weeks. Like, give themselves some time to recuperate so that it wouldn't deteriorate that badly as the tour went on. I think that's one thing that they could have easily given themselves a little bit of, you know, time in between. I mean, at that point, they were pretty popular still. You know, they could afford to maybe give themselves a week off here and there. Another thing I don't understand is, well, like I said, I don't know 100% about this or what would have happened logistically with this, but why wouldn't they have tried to like promote some of the shows differently? Like maybe saying, okay, we're going to film this show for, you know, for a DVD, or, you know, try to hype it a little bit differently. I mean, at that point, it just seemed like they were just doing shows and saying, okay, we're just going, this is our last show. And that was the big deal of the whole event, was that this is the final show. But, you know, they could have maybe, you know, tried to broadcast it to maybe theaters, like do like a closed circuit broadcast of it in a city or something, or maybe something just to liven it up, give it a little bit more excitement to it, on top of the fact that it's the last show. I mean, there are so many things I thought they could have did in that way, you know? Like, I mean, another thing that I loved that they did later on was when they did those instant live recordings. I mean, I don't know logistically if they could have did it then, because they were probably still under contract at that point, I think, right? When they were doing the farewell tour, that they couldn't have maybe made some of these instant lives. But I think people would have loved that, like to go to a show and have an instant recording of that show, their farewell show, for them to take home. I mean, that's another thing I think would have maybe attracted people to going to the shows, was saying, hey, you know what? We're going to see them one last time, and I can even get something to bring home as a souvenir from it that way, you know? I mean, I just thought that there was more ways to do things. I mean, for a band that tried to make us believe that they were on top of things as far as technology goes, why wouldn't they try to do something like that? I know that's, you know, they really weren't, obviously, but, you know, why not try to do something like that? I mean, I never understood why they never tried to branch out, you know?
I think they probably routed the tour in the way that it was so many shows in a short period of time, because they didn't know when the wheels were going to fall off. And obviously they did make it to the end, you know, in that Charleston show, and then the wheels did fall off. But, you can certainly understand by at that point there wasn't as much fun being on the road. That
Yeah.
I don't know how was your, like, were you a Kiss boy back then, a Kiss fanatic? For me, it was like, oh no, the farewell tour. Nothing has really changed. Well, they added 3 songs, but other than that, nothing changed. There was no news. There were no new albums. So I kind of left the Kiss camp during this tour. And when I saw Tommy Thayer during the Kiss Symphony, I thought, this is it. It's all over. But I had to change my mind a few years later. But by that time, I checked out, and I remember I did a homepage called Kiss the Revenge Era, when the music counted, and it was from 1990 to 95. This was when Kiss got respected because of their music. And I remember
Did you do it? Did you do it with Lonnie?
No, I should have. If I knew him back then, we could have created something great. But I remember, I was there were a lot of hits on that site because I guess people felt the same way. And I remember the message boards being like swamped by persons who agreed with me, because you kind of got tired of the Kiss the way they were. There were the same set list, no news, no surprises, and that's why we liked the Australian Japan tour that much. Finally, a surprise, medleys.
Yeah, and you know what?
And a drummer who
the farewell tour sets the ground for all of that comes afterwards. Obviously, they got away with putting Eric Singer in Peter Criss's makeup. That sets the stage for Tommy Thayer to be able to wear Ace's makeup when Ace, 2003, doesn't want to do the symphony, and he's kind of 2002 was a holding year where they did very little. So all of the farewell sets the stage for the next 15 years, because very little changes in the stages or the sets. Very minor changes. It's just a matter of continue doing what they'd been doing. So I guess we have the farewell tour to thank for the continued existence of the band in some ways.
Well, any bad Kiss show is better than 90% of every other show, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you got a little dog there.
Yeah, he's being a bit of a suck right now. He's just kind of crying at my feet, so I just gotta kind of hold him. Don't mind him. So yeah, but I mean, the thing with the farewell tour that kind of bothered me is that when you think of a farewell tour, you think of something really grandiose and something very much something to celebrate, And it just seemed like the longer it went on, the less excitement was built around it almost. I mean, it kind of restarted again, obviously, when it got to Japan and Australia, because we had something to talk about with Eric coming into the band, right? And those kind of things restarted the conversation, and people got reinterested again. And then luckily, because the shows were so good, I think it reinvigorated some people's interest back in the band again. And it's like, well, wait a minute, the band is playing really good with Eric. Maybe it started running some people's gears, in their brain, saying, well, maybe they could continue if they had somebody like him in the band. I mean, at that point, it wasn't thought about continuing. People were still thinking it was going to be ending, obviously, right? But
well, those people include Paul and Gene, because I think they were quite happy with how it turned out. They probably, perhaps, really wanted to stop at the end of 2000, and after the shows in Australia and Japan, they saw, well, maybe we can continue with other people, because look at we sound better. The arenas were packed. So the people who perhaps were convinced it was not over, the first ones were Paul and Gene when Eric Singer joined the team. I think they didn't, probably at the end with Ace and Peter, no one wanted to be on that stage and no one wanted to play. They just maybe couldn't wait to stop sincerely until they got the new blood and perhaps they're reinvigorated after that.
So they brought back Eric. Why didn't they bring back Bruce?
That's a really, really good question because and that's one thing I'd really like an honest answer for, to be honest with you, because every
You're
time
not
Bruce
gonna get
talks
it.
about it, well, every time Bruce talks about it, he always seems very proud of the fact that he's been the only guy, well, not only guy, but he's been one of the guys that didn't have to wear the makeup. You know what I mean? He always kind of
The only
makes
living
that
guy.
sound, yeah, he always makes it sound like, I didn't have to wear the makeup and, I was accepted in the band and I had such a long stint in the band. That's almost like his calling card. Like, I'm the guy in Kiss that didn't wear the makeup, and he was very happy about that period, and he always waves the flag for that period whenever he does his solo tours, right? Where he plays a lot of that material at his solo shows, right? He's very
Did you
proud
see?
of it.
Did you see the ones from South America? I think it was South America recently, a week or two ago.
No.
Oh,
I
there are.
saw some.
I think was it South America?
Yeah,
Well,
he,
it
he,
did.
yeah, he's just
Yeah,
been
he-
down there.
Yeah.
Sounded kind of cool. Did
Yeah,
the
I mean,
madness,
I've got some videos of him when he did that in Australia a few years ago. He does a great job. But, he was busy. I mean, he had Union going on at the time.
Come on, Julian and Kiss.
Yeah, but he was trying to do his own thing, with...
Do your own
see what
thing.
you
Do
did
your
there.
own thing.
yeah, and with... Would he have
Come
fit?
on.
Come on, they've
I mean, if
they've
we-
got Tommy
if-
Thayer right there, sitting next to you,
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
guitar in hand, saying, "Hey, Ace, you didn't play this right today," and knowing that he'd been in Cold Gin, you've got a guy on standby in case Ace doesn't show up for the whole of the reunion era. It's just, why would Bruce even be thought of? Bruce is
Because
out
he
there.
was a member of Kiss.
Yeah, but
He was a fucking Kiss member.
but you've
Tommy
got-
Thayer was a
you've got
a
the
standby
Ace
guy.
You've got a guy who's already performed as a fill-in, wearing Ace's makeup. He knows how to put it on. He doesn't need any, training. Bruce would have needed training, and he already plays like Ace. Bruce plays like Bruce.
Would it
Bruce
have been?
played the
Would it
shit
have been?
out of Tommy.
Would it have been Spruce Bruce again? In makeup.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
What do you mean? Do you mean that Thomas Hay is some kind of dancer on stage? This is all he does.
I just think Tommy
It's not
Thayer
like-
is, for better or worse, and I have very little good to say about Black and Blue. Not my thing at all. Did not care for them. But as a person, he's there.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. I
he's
mean,
the
he's
perfect
like
fit,
he's
of
like
course.
ready. You just have to unwrap the packaging and put him out on stage, and he can play. So
That's all you want.
But I-
That's all they need.
Yeah, but I would
Then
he could be in the sidelines fixing everything, and you put Bruce on stage because Bruce can play the solo to Creatures of the Night.
You know what though?
Can't do it.
I
Yes,
wonder though.
it's true.
I wonder though if that's one thing that maybe that Bruce was a little bit afraid of, is that he was so loved by the fans. Okay, was he afraid maybe of the backlash if he went into the makeup? Because like we just said earlier, Eric went in, and you said, Alan, that there was a backlash when he first
Definitely.
got into the makeup, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Would he have had the same reaction to that? Maybe he didn't. Maybe Bruce was comfortable with what he was doing. After all, he did get paid to sit at home by Kiss when they first did the reunion tour, right? So would it have been maybe too much of a headache? Maybe he thought to himself, you know what? I got money here. People still love me in Kiss. Like, all the Kiss fans love me. If I go now and put this makeup on now, will I start getting this backlash, and will people revolt because I'm wearing the spaceman makeup?
It wasn't up to him.
No, I
No,
agree. I agree. I
He would have-
don't think
He can say whatever he wants. If Paul and Gene would have called him and said, "Well, if you can join Kiss if you wear Ace Frehley makeup," he would have said yes. He can say
You think
whatever.
so?
He wants. Yes, of course.
Of course.
He would have made in 3 months. He would have made the money that he's made for 10 years. So that's an easy choice.
Yeah.
Or they could
He would have joined
or-
the band. He's always the team player. He's always a team player. Oh, we need you in the band, of course. No problem.
Or maybe he said, "Why don't you take the makeup off and grow the goatee again?" And
that would work.
The only time Bruce has shown balls is when he told Winnie Vincent to go fuck himself when he said he had played the unholy solo. That's the only time. Mention another time he's shown balls.
that we
He's
know
a team
about.
player, and that's good. But
Yeah.
if
Well,
they
that's
said
just, that is
they
it. But
said
that's just
join the band and earn millions, okay.
Yeah, but Tommy Thayer's there. Like, oh, we need a guitarist.
He's
Tommy's sitting there holding a cold gin ad, saying, "Don't call Bruce. I'm right here. Save yourself a quarter." Oh yeah, save ourselves
I
a
can
quarter.
pay all. Yeah, he's done a good
well,
job, I have to say.
And then
I mean-
and then you look at someone like Eddie Cannon and you say, well, look at this guy and how he looks like in cat makeup, and then think of Bruce wearing Ace's makeup. Obviously they fixed it a bit with Eric Singer. He looked really awkward initially, but they did come around once they got
I don't know what they changed, because the first image that we've talked about looks awful, but now I feel like he looks.
Either we got used to it, which is totally
I don't know
possible,
why.
but I think they changed it up and made it work for his face shape and all that. But
Great now.
maybe they made him have plastic surgery.
He made a big mistake in the first show in Yokohama, Eric Singer, which is very rare for him to as a drummer. Maybe someone will check online, but I think for Shout It Out Loud, he started playing like I Love It Loud. He started the intro of I Love It Loud, and then he went to Shout It Out, or the other way around. But it was his first show in makeup, and I think he was really, really nervous. I remember watching him at the end when they all go up. He was also looking at them like a fan. He was not waiting for a cue or anything at that point. No, when Gene did God of Thunder, I think he was looking at him like he was enjoying the show as part of the show, and I thought that was pretty.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Those are the kind of people that you want in the band. You know what I mean? Like somebody who can appreciate it. I mean, I think that's the problem with some of the other people. Like, I mean, someone like a Vinny who probably didn't appreciate the majesty of what Kiss was at that point, and probably just went in and just thought, whatever, I can just take over and they'll play my songs. When you have Eric Singer in there who loved every minute of it and was enjoying the show, being involved in it just as much as the audience.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. But how the hell did they first manage to hire Vinnie Vincent and then Mark St. John? It's incredible.
Desperation.
Yeah, but how desperate can you get? I mean,
oh well, they were pretty
fucking
desperate.
use your head.
Well, if you think of Mark St. John, apparently you can get very desperate, because if you think of even all the other shredders, and you're going for basically a no one, because what had Mark done? Very little.
Nothing.
He'd done a lot with local bands,
Teacher.
but and this is absolutely no disrespect to someone who's
No.
someone who's dead and gone. Simple as that. But he had not had a career of any note. But he's the complete opposite to what Vinnie Vincent was. Vinnie Vincent had worked with a lot of bands, had worked with a lot of different bands. He'd done jazz, he'd done R&B, he'd done, what was that? Disco. So you go from one side to a guy who's got nothing. Maybe they thought, well, if this is basically a nobody, Vinnie Vincent, who's done a lot of work with a lot of things but hasn't made it, then maybe we got to get someone who's done nothing with nobody and has nothing. Because we can't work with these guys and their egos. Even if they haven't been successful, they're still lead guitar disease players.
I always imagine Kiss. What if you had Paul, you had Gene, you had a good drummer, and you had a flamboyant guitarist? But I understood after a while that was never an option, because they wanted a guy standing way in the back, not doing anything. But imagine what the live show would have been if they had a great guitarist who can move, dance, and do some stuff. It would have been. It maybe would have saved them during the non-makeup era, because Bruce didn't do anything.
Well,
He was a great guitarist. I love what he did, but live he didn't do anything.
So what's his name? Yannick Gers, Iron Maiden.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he was available in the 1980s. What was he with Gillan and then Gog Magog? Watch that fucker dance on stage.
Guys who
You want a guitarist who can sing and dance and
Yeah, but
ask Iron Maiden what they think of him.
Throw his guitar
Because
left and right.
During the 80s and 90s, you had Gene, you had Paul, and you had Bruce standing over there. Imagine if you had a guitarist who could bring it, but they didn't want that. unfortunately.
No, and they wouldn't want anyone to distract from the Gene and Paul show. Once the originals were gone, then it was all about Gene and Paul, and everyone else was just a hired hand.
And that's kind of interesting when you look at the medleys from I don't know if it was Japan or Australia, but they play a lot of medleys, and Ace Frehley does a lot of cool stuff, and then Paul has to play the last song. He's like, last word freak. I'll do Mr. Speed after everyone else because I need to have the last word. It's so typical.
Yeah, but that's
control.
Then in Australia, he starts doing "I Still Love You," a bit of "I Want You" in his intro to Shandy. So, hey, he's Paul Stanley, and we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Paul Stanley.
Yeah, he gets to do whatever the hell he wants. He's Paul Stanley. Just like Ace is Ace Frehley, and Gene is Gene. They get to do whatever they want because they are who they are.
Yeah,
that's right.
Paul is always the last word freak. If you watch Seinfeld, watch that episode. Fucking Paul Stanley. Let someone else have the limelight for once. I mean, you've had the money, you've had the women, you've had the success. Why can't you let someone else have the limelight? No,
because you have seen.
Because I'm Paul Stanley.
No, have you seen the Casino show where Gene is the only? They're a trio, and have you seen Gene?
Work very well.
That's why.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's incredible how lousy he is at Kiss lyrics, Gene. I mean, he's been up there for 40 years and he doesn't know a single word for another song than his own.
Which is why they can all be very thankful they've got Eric Singer, because Eric can just, you see him singing along when he's playing. I mean, he seems to know it all. I mean, so.
I like Eric Singer. He's always, what a guy. He seems to know every Kiss song in the catalog. Have you ever seen him like, I don't know what to play?
No.
I've never seen it. I've seen Bruce. What the hell is this? Mark St. John did.
But what's even more impressive about it is that he started in the band playing it in kind of his style when he was first in the band, and then he was able to trim it down when they told him, listen, we got to play it more like the original style. I mean, he can do it any which way they tell him to do it, and it still sounds great. That's the thing that's great about him.
But I do prefer. I mean, you guys slaughtered the Live 3 album, but Creatures of the Night, Deuce, Parasite, to me, they have never sounded as good as they did on Alive 3. Well, maybe Alive 1. I like the way he played them, but Alive 3 got butchered on this show.
Yep.
You guys killed it.
Well,
the album's horrible. Yep.
The album is terrible.
Yeah. Listen to the tour bootlegs, and that's a whole different story.
Yes. Yeah. Watch the Nagoya bootleg 1995.
I have watched it.
Fire.
Like
they're
a million
amazing.
Times.
London 92.
What do you think is the difference between Nagoya and let's say Alive 3?
Oh, the production. The production.
Yeah, the production.
That's all.
But we're talking drumming now. Listen to Deuce from Alive 3. I mean, come on.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you. I didn't hear.
I say, listen to Deuce from Alive 3. I mean, it's great. Even though they distorted the sound from the audience, like I Just Wanna, they did some stuff and like that. It didn't sound. It sounded, they.
Yeah, it's the overdubs and the overproduction that ruins it.
So they did
and it would have been mic'd differently for.
But if you look at the core, you mean? Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, Parasite, Creatures of the Night, Deuce. I mean, it sounds fucking great.
They played great.
At the core.
It was a great lineup.
I would have wished that they could have made another album, but it wasn't to be.
Wasn't to be. All right. There we are. We've gone way off topic again.
Oh, is it already the end?
Yeah.
You have your ending voice.
Yes, we have our ending voice. I don't know how much longer I can go with my cold here. I am sniffing at the storm.
Today's episode was about Eric Singer.
Yes, Eric Singer. Eric Singer saved Kiss.
Oh.
There you go. There you go. That's a good topic title.
So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's-
that is
Did
kind
Eric's-
of the discussion. You
Next
know,
episode.
you know, the farewell tour. You know, how did they do for you out there? You know, what did you think of the farewell? Did you think it was going to be the farewell? Did you know that they were going to be back a couple of years later? And you know, with it setting the stage for other people wearing particular members' makeup, you know, does it set the stage for all of that? You know, what's your take on everything that we've discussed today? Because you know, it's a pretty big topic. It's a big word like gymnasium. So,
But we have to say, this is the first Kiss episode where everyone is talking English and no one is from America. That's pretty big. Or is it?
Yeah.
Japan, Sweden, Canada, Great Britain. It's kind of cool.
expat anyway. So
Yes.
you know that's the whole idea behind it, and this is really representative today of the idea behind the KissFAQ podcast,
Yeah.
right, Daniel? Your idea originally. You're the one who came up with the idea of the KissFAQ doing a podcast and trying to get people, you know, members of the board from all over the world together to talk about Kiss.
We need some girls.
Yeah,
And not the way Three Sides do it. Oh, look at her. They go. Fat fucking
hey,
guys.
she's a smart lassie though. She holds her own.
Yeah, she's good, but they are not when she's in the episode. They get like all startled.
Well, we're guys, aren't we? You know, we haven't.
What the fuck?
Well,
You're an
I know,
adult.
Yeah,
Whenever
exactly.
you speak with a woman, they're like, "Ooh."
Yeah, well, let's see if we do get one of our female
Bring in a
fans
woman
on
here,
the
and
show.
we'll talk to her
Yes,
like
let's
she's
see.
a guy.
Let's see how
We'll talk
we
to her
do,
like she's a guy, like she's a Kiss fan, and not like she's like a.
or whether we're going to
like
be
sex
all
object.
patriarchal and So we'll wait and see what happens with that. So everyone, you've got the questions. Alan, thank you for staying up late.
Thank you for having me.
Daniel, thank you for coming straight after work. And Mark, thanks for always being here. And
No
for
problem.
all of you out there, thanks for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. We hope to see you again.